Hi everyone, this is James Himm Mitchell and I am here. It is early Monday morning, so first, happy Monday to you all. It is August the 18th, 2025, and we are going to be doing the Oracle Outlook video reading for the week ahead. As you can see, I have one deck on the table, and that is because I have gotten more requests to work with singular decks, doing a box reading and then a line of 5 extraction. So I am so happy that you all are just loving this line of 5 extraction technique. So first, if you are catching this video for the first time, if you're experiencing me for the first time, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time to stop by and check out the video. If you're a returning viewer and subscriber, as I always say, thank you so much for continuing to circle back and continuing to check out the content on the channel and for supporting the work that goes into the channel. So thank you one and all for your support. And we have been working, like I said, with one deck on the table for the last few readings, and I have been honoring the requests of viewers. So this is a shout out to a viewer who is near and dear to my heart. So this is for Ismail in part, because he asked me, in light of my most recent video on the channel, if I would work with this deck. So the video that I'm referring to is the one that introduced my newest deck creation, because you know I'm in that phase now where I'm just kind of cranking the decks out. But this deck is really special, and I said in that video that it was one that I wanted to hang my hat on. And so the deck that I'm going to be working with is the Mitchell Fortune Telling Oracle. This is the box that it comes in. And so I will turn it around because the description on it will give you an idea of what the deck is. So the copy says, with the Mitchell Fortune Telling Oracle, card reader James Himm Mitchell blends aspects of Lenormand, Kipper, and Gypsy cards, as well as cards of his own making, into this 55 card hybrid. So I will post a link to that video that I'm mentioning, because part of it goes into how I was feeling about my cartomancy journey and how the deck actually came into being. It's a cool story, if I say so myself, of course, because I experienced it. But I really love the deck, and as a result of that video, Ismail circled back and said, would you be willing to work with this in the next Oracle Outlook video reading, doing a box reading and then a line of 5 extraction. So of course I was all on board for that. And then Ismail doesn't know this, but I will just kind of put it out here now. In next week's Oracle Outlook video reading, I will be working with my tarot deck, the Mitchell Tarot, the AI edition, because he also asked me, prior to this request, he asked me to do a 9-card box and a line of 5 extraction with tarot. So that was how I'm going to work this out. I'm going to do this with the Fortune Telling Oracle this week, and then the Mitchell Tarot next week. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and begin the shuffling process. And when I do these general readings, the question is, what do we need to know about the week ahead? You know, what advice, guidance, insight can be offered that would help us best and most easily move through the upcoming week. So those are always the intentions behind the reading. Alright, the cards have been shuffled, cut, and dealt, and we have our 9 cards on the table. And so if you're no stranger to these videos, you know that I always like to start with card 5. This is known for me as the focus card. It's known as the hinge card. It's known as the central issue, or the focus, heart of the matter, things like that. It goes by many names, and so I start here. So let's take a look and see what the card is. So Here we have the home and family. And in this deck, the home and family card has a yellow border. And so what I did with the borders, I was very creative with the color choices for the borders. I kind of went with what certain themes or aspects of life are associated with by color. And when I was doing my research, home and family is associated with the color yellow. So that's the reason for the yellow border. So the home and family card is really about centering on or focusing on your home life, your personal life. Family issues may be a thing that comes up this week. For me, it's really about like domestic affairs, things I could be doing around the house, with the house, things like that. For some people watching this video, it may actually have to do with your actual home, meaning like real estate, property. Those are things that have to do with the home and family card. It can also be about metaphorically comfort, right? Because you consider the idea that you are most comfortable in your own home. So it may have to do with issues surrounding comfort. So again, the home and family card is really about your home life, domestic affairs, comfort, something foundational even. And it could also have to do with family, either family you live with, or your family unit, things like that. So that's what I would say with the home and family card. And so now the surrounding cards might give us more information about the focus card. So what I usually do is after the focus, I move to the first card in the box. I call this the opening card or the trigger. It's usually for me, what is triggering the reading? Why are we doing the reading? Why are we asking the question that we're asking? And here we have abundance. So abundance has a green border because the cards that refer to money in this deck have a green border because green is a color that's most associated with money. So abundance is a card that talks about your prosperity consciousness. It talks about abundance, meaning a lot of something, right? So there could be a need for a greater sense of wealth. And that would be about financial well-being, yeah. But it could also be that there's maybe a lot of issues pertaining to home and family this week. Because this is, again, if it's not about actual abundance, it can mean a lot of something. So that's what I would say about abundance in the moment. It could just be, what can we do to increase or add increase in our life, or something's being increased, right? That's the word about abundance. It's about increase, right? So for some people, it could be, if you're dealing with home issues, family issues, it might really be literally, what can you do to increase your income, bring in more money, things of that nature. But in a more metaphorical or esoteric sense, it could be about your abundance mindset, your prosperity consciousness, things like that. So that's what's opening things up, right? Or, as I was about to move on, there could be a lot of valuable information, right? A lot of, it could be the words I'm looking for. It could be like adding value or increase value into your everyday home life, right? Your everyday personal life, your everyday living experience, yeah. It could be like, what can we do to enrich ourselves, add more value, something of that nature. And I will also say too, like money being a resource, it could be like additional resources, again, for your home life, personal life, family life, things like that. So that's what I would say with these two cards. And then we go to the last card. The card is the closing card. This would be how things end out. Okay, so here we have the man card. I'm going to hold it up. So the man card, there's a man and a woman card, and so they each have white borders because they are significator cards. So the first thing I will say is that if you are a man watching this video, this card could represent you. If you're a woman, then this would be a man who is significant or important in your life, and especially connected to the home and family card. This might be a significant other, a partner, spouse potentially if you're married, things of that nature. Or if you are not married like myself, then the home and family card would be family members who are close to you. pertaining to the home and family. In my home, I live alone, so this would be me and this would be my home. But all my family members do not live with me, right? So there could be a family member that I'm close to. So I would say that. Now, if we just look at the visual, there's a couple of things to note about the visual. He is in the corner of the box reading, which means that all the other cards are above him, right? Especially these 6, right? So there could be a situation this week, and it may pertain to home and family, or money and resources, that there are certain things that are weighing on him, right? Just the literal cards, all the cards above him could be something weighing on him, right? Also, too, note that he is looking outside of the box. So this could be metaphorically looking for something outside of the current situation, right? Or it could be like wanting to make an exit out of the current situation, right? So there is that to consider. Now, when it comes to systems like Kipper, Bohemian cards, things like that, and I would classify this system, even though it's a loving hybrid and some cards of my own making in it, I would still classify it as that. So with that in mind, the man looking out of the box means that all these cards are in what's called inauspicious placement, which means that some of these issues that are being presented could be challenging for the man because he's not facing any of them, right? Again, we call that inauspicious placement. Now, this could also be the present column, right? So even though we're looking at the week ahead, this would be the most significant column because it would be the present. There's no future here, but I'm going to extend the story. I already know I'm going to extend the story. So we'll put a card in front of him to see what could be happening in the immediate or near future, right? With that in mind, then these would be elements of the past. So this week could be a carryover or spillover from the previous week, because we have these 2 columns that, if we go with the idea that these are the past, may be elements of the prior week spilling over into this week, right? And that may be where the focus and attention comes in, right? Right? Not looking ahead, but dealing with what has already happened and what's currently happening, right? But if I stick to the idea that this is for the week ahead, then I would read the columns as beginning of the week, middle of the week, end of the week. With that in mind, then it would say there's a man who's going to have a significant role or part in how things turn out towards the end of the week. And so now this card is more intentional than in other systems, right? In other systems, if you're familiar with like Lenormand or Kipper cards, or even Bohemian cards, the significator cards usually don't have any other additional meanings. I've decided to kind of break that rule or break that tradition for my own deck. So in this deck, the man is wearing a yellow shirt, which is the color of the sun, right? So this could be aspects of the sun card in Lenormand, right? And with that in mind, the sun card is a nice card because it can also represent daily life, right? Makes sense with the home and family card, right? And also too, I'm just realizing the yellow is actually a connection or a nod to the border on the home and family card, right? But for me, I was very intentional because male energy is associated with solar energy, right? The sun. The sun is considered masculine energy in astrology, so I was going with that. And with that in mind, then this card is also, because of the association with the sun, is also connected to the sign Leo, and we are currently in Leo. Actually, we are just right on or about to approach the cusp, yeah? Because my brother's birthday, home and family, my brother's birthday is tomorrow, August the 19th, right? And he is on the cusp. He's Leo, identifies as Leo astrologically, but he can also be considered on the cusp to some astrologers. So there's a nod to the sun as the ruling planet of this card, and then Leo, the sign, because the sun is associated with Leo. So there may be some things with Leo about to transition into Virgo. There may be something that may need someone's immediate attention if I go with the timing element of the man card, right? So again, this would represent a man who's playing an important role or part either in the outcome or there's a man who's going to be really challenged by the events that take place over the course of this week, right? And so, like I said, this being the present column will be very interesting because this would represent his thoughts, right? So we'll get to that in just a moment. Now we're going to go ahead and turn over all the cards. Oh, look at this. We have the woman card. So let me stop here and talk about this because I was really excited when I made these cards. So the woman is the counterpart to the man card. And so what I did here was, just like he has yellow for the sun, she has the full moon in the back for lunar energy, right? The feminine aspect, right? And polar opposites, he's out in the park in the day, she's in the same park, but it's nighttime. I wanted them to be like polar opposites of one another. And so now, since I talked about the associations with the sun card, the man card, I'm going to do the same with the woman card. So the woman with the full moon in the background, this is a nod to the moon card in Lenormand. So let me talk about that for a moment. So the moon card in Lenormand is about honor, it's about recognition, it's about one's reputation, you know, things like that. So it's really the reputation is really about a sense of, you know, identity, sense of self, right? And then for me, some other systems based on my experience, the moon, the full moon can also be about being in touch with your intuition, right? Your intuition being at its peak. So this could be about, you know, going with your intuition, trusting your intuition. And your intuition operates within your feeling nature, yeah? Which is the woman. The woman metaphorically symbolizes, our feminine nature, regardless of your gender, whether you're male or female. We all have feminine aspects, and we all are blessed with intuitive ability, yeah? But I just love seeing them both in the same spread. And then I will quickly note that the man card knights to the woman card, but also pay attention to direction. He's looking outside of the box and she's looking the opposite way. So if I just stick with this for a moment, we may have some sense of disagreement, and disagreement meaning because they're not looking the same way, between a man and a woman, right? So if you're a woman watching this, then this card could pertain to you, and then knighting to the man would be a man who is either playing a significant role or part in your life, especially if you live together, share a living space, or maybe somebody who's like a colleague or a peer, somebody who's on the same level, quote unquote, as you, right? And so now there is some future for her because she is looking at the abundance card, and also too, she has all these cards below her, right? So these are elements that she's getting under control because they're beneath her in the layout. Now the only card that would be considered inauspicious for her would be this card because it's behind her. So now if it's not a disagreement, it could be that a man and a woman are moving through the same experience together, but they each either have a different area of focus or they're seeing the same situation differently, yeah? And that's a nod to the man card. He's wearing glasses, and I love the frame's blue glasses, right? Blue for, you know, male energy. But blue is also a color that talks about our outlook on life, right? So I love the fact that he's wearing blue frames on his glasses. Okay, so that's what I would say about the man and the woman card. So let's turn over the other cards. Here we have Get Together. Next we have Sadness. Okay, I'm going to have to evolve the story with the Sadness card and the Get Together card. So I have 3 cards I need to evolve the story around. So I'm going to go ahead and do that later. The Law card. Okay. Then we have money. So very interesting. We have two money cards here. We have the abundance card up here and then the money card here. So I'll talk about the distinction between the two. And then the last card to turn over is the child card. Okay, so we have interesting dynamic here. So I'm going to talk about the child card right now. So the child is a person card, and all the people cards in my deck, aside the significators, have a magenta border. So the child could literally mean a child. So here we have, I just love this. So there's something about, for some people, family dynamics. We have the woman card, the man card, and now the child card. So this could be literally a nuclear family, right? The man or husband, father, woman, mother, and these two might be parents, and then we have the child. Could be their literal child. Child, if it's not about an actual child, then this could be a new phase, because this card can represent something new, the beginning of something, the start of something. Right? So, and now with this card being behind the man, so here we have, could be an issue regarding being a father. If the man has a child, there may be something having to do with issues around either a child or children, or that there's going to be a challenge for the man in terms of something new, the beginning of something, or starting something. Right now, sometimes cards can be describing the man. So this could be a man who is maybe somewhat either innocent or naive even, or immature, right? And that could just be a nice way of saying, well, not so nice, but a way of saying that there's not a whole lot of experience within the situation that the man is trying to move through, right? Now, it could also be, if I go with the idea of the visual, it could be a man who's trying to get out of a situation from the start, right? From the get-go, right? Looking for a way out from the start. Now, above him, I'm starting with him because he turned up first. Starting with him, above him is the law card, so I'll hold it up so people can see. So now, for the color border, it might look white in the camera, but it's actually a light shade of gray, because I was going with the idea that the law is supposed to be neutral, impartial, right? And gray is a color that represents neutrality and impartiality, right? So that's the reason for the border color choice. Now, this card, when it turns up, especially in the area of thoughts like it is here for the man, this could be that the man is having in his mind, or is on his mind, about making a decision or a choice, right? Because for me, that this is about making an important choice or decision, and it's one that potentially could involve other people, right? So it's about, when you're making the choice or decision, what's in the best interest for everyone involved. And here we have, again, a nod to the woman and the child, right? So it could be that a man is making a decision, or needing to make a decision. It's not just going to involve him, but it may involve family. Especially if he has a partner, a child, you know, and how is that going to affect his home life? Remember, this is the focus. Home, family is the focus here. Now, this card, the law card, can also be about doing the right thing. So it could be a matter of, on his mind, that he's really thinking about doing the right thing, whatever that is. Card can usually be about moral and ethical convictions, you know, standing by your convictions, right? That kind of thing. It could also be because the judge on the card has a picture, a large picture of scales behind him, right? This card can also be about balance, right? So it could be about seeking balance, looking things from a more balanced perspective, that kind of thing. Now, if there's a decision that needs to be made, this card for me talks about weighing the pros and the cons, right? What are the pros in the situation? What are the cons? And then it's about, like, you know, you taking all of that information into account, and then you make a decision based on the evidence, quote unquote, that's being presented to you, because that's what a judge does, right? A judge makes a decision, a ruling, or a verdict based on the evidence that is presented, right? Now, it could also be if there is a sense of disagreement between a man and a woman, right? Again, because they're not facing the same way, then this card could be about trying to be impartial, neutral, not having any bias or biases, right? So that's what I would say about the law card. And since it's in the column that can represent the end of the week, there may be an important decision that needs to be made or considered towards the end of the week, right? And again, it may involve more than one party or person. Now, let's go up, since I'm still in this column for the man. Then here we have get together. I will hold this card up. Now, this is a connector card, and it has a pink border. So that's the reason why I need to draw another card, because connector cards connect cards on either side, right? So the get together card is a card that talks about get-togethers, hanging out. It's about being out in public, being around other people. It's a very social card, that kind of thing. And you can note that by the man and the woman sitting closely on a park bench, right? It's a public setting, right? And I do have people in the background behind them, right? So it is a public setting. This is a card that can also be talking about meetings and appointments, things like that. So with the law card, it could be, meeting with somebody who is a legal professional, right? Because this card would be meetings and then law. Or something having to do with the public. So there may be a decision that a man needs to make, and it may be involving other people, like I said. But this card might suggest that it could go further out than just family, right? This card could be about a group of people, community. It's a card that talks about other people, right? Now, as I'm talking about this card, the woman being in front of this card, meaning like this is inauspicious placement for her, then there may be a challenge for the woman about something having to do with the public, something having to do with a particular meeting. Right? This could even be that the man and the woman, since they night to each other, maybe are dating. Right? There could be a couple that's dating. Or, is there an issue about going public with something and needing to make a decision around that because of what it might or how it might affect the family. Now, I will say, another aspect of the law card for me, if I go like really esoteric here, this card can be about karma. Right? If you believe and subscribe to the idea of karma, that is, right? And this could be, like karmic justice, poetic justice. It makes me think of the expression when I talk about karma, like karma's a bitch, right? So it could be like, especially with the man card being below it, there could be a sense of justice or karma for a man, and it's going to be like made public or put out in the public. Right? It could be a part of public discourse. Yeah? And as I'm saying that, public nights to sadness, this is a card, I'm going to jump. This is a card that talks about upset, disappointment, sadness, right? It has a coral orange border in my deck, and so this is a cause and effect card. So cause and effect cards have that color border. And look at this. The way this card works is that what's behind the woman in the image is the cause of the upset, the sadness, the disappointment. Yeah, and then we'll have to put another card here for the effect. Right, but here as it stands, if I knight get together to sadness, here we may have the public who is sad, disappointed, upset, And then look, sadness, knights to man, yeah? So with a particular man. And then the cause behind it could be their home life, their personal life, their domestic affairs, right? And then going further, there could be money issues attached to this. Right, the other thing about the law card is it's just coming to me. So this could be also to a person who is in the political landscape. That I was about to say the public sphere. That would be get together. But also to this card for me can be about government and politics. It's one of the cards in the deck that can be about government and politics. There's another card, but it hasn't turned up yet. So we'll see if that one turns up. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that are going on here with this, right? Okay, so I'm just looking to see what cards I hadn't touched on. Yeah. So the distinction here between abundance and money, let me touch on that too. So here with abundance, I talked about this card was about increase, right? It's about a lot of something, right? So this, again, could be about resources, assets, especially with a house, right? If a house is like real estate or property, this would be considered an asset, right? So it could be about, an increase regarding our assets, our resources, things like that. But in and of itself, this card simply is a card of increase. Okay, so now the distinction between abundance and money is a card that talks about change and improvement. Right, so the abundance card is a card that is like a step up from the money card, right? And so now here, interestingly enough, in the background, I have houses. So this is a nod to the home and family card. When this card turns up, it can be about financial transactions, right? The hand being open and receiving the coins. That could be financial transactions. And this card can be about, paying household bills, household expenses. And we have the home and family card here, or the house card. We have that in the reading as well. So this reading really is about the idea of how people in their everyday living are just really trying to make it. And some people are having to make decisions to support their families, right? But there may be some thought energy around increase, right? But this card can represent wanting to see changes and improvements in their everyday living situations, right? So I'm seeing that. And then now, please note that we have the man not facing these cards, right? So this is inauspicious placement. This is a challenge for some people out there, right? About, paying the bills, paying household expenses, being able to afford the costs of everyday living this day, right? Especially if there's increase, right? This could be about price increases, right? Things going up, the cost of things going up, right? And this could be, not just individual families or individual people, but this could be like it's reaching a wider audience, so to speak. Like more people are feeling this effect, right? So this really makes me feel like this reading for this week is really centering on our home lives, what's on the home front, things like that, things close to home, right? Now I will say, I will throw out my political perspective as well. So if we have the law here, so this could be something having to do with legalities, legal matters. So there may be things having things in the realm of legalities or the law that could be news or become news this week, right? The money card for me, if I make this about politics, perhaps, lawmakers, right? The Congress are people who are considered lawmakers, right? So this could be a person who is a lawmaker, public servant, yeah. That would be the get-together card would be the public, right? Serving the public. And then we also notice that law knights to money. So this may be a legal matter and there may be money in question regarding that. or decisions about what to do with finances, as I already said, or there may be something having to do with financial transactions that's going to become embroiled in a legal matter of some kind. And then with law, home and family, and money, especially the background, this could be like the House of Representatives or Congress, like I said earlier. For me, this card, if we're talking about politics, it could represent Congress playing a role or a part in the background. Right, so that's what I'm seeing. So the woman looking ahead, this would be her column. So she, if I go with her present, she is working on getting her home life under control, right? Because it's underneath her, right? Getting it under control. And she may be thinking about trying something or doing something new with that. Or this could actually be, she's home with a child. Or she has a child in the house. Right? So if this is under her control, she may be having issues or challenges with a child or children. Right, the child card doesn't necessarily mean just an infant or a toddler as depicted on the card. This would be any child connected to the woman. Right, now it could also be too, if this is a child, somebody who's dependent on her and her ability to care for that child, right? This would be like somebody who's under her care. Now this could also be, as I'm looking at the cards again, this could also be perhaps a legal dispute, right? We have man and woman not facing the same way, disagreement. We have the law card here, a legal matter, and it may have to do either with financial resources or a child. So this could be maybe something having to do with custody of a child, something having to do with financial support of a child. I'm thinking about like child support, and then a woman looking to get more from a man that maybe he has been willing to contribute up to now. Right? So I'm seeing a whole lot of different issues here. All right? So now let's go ahead and evolve this story. So as I said, evolving the story is a process where when I have cards like connector cards or cause and effect cards or even a significator, especially in this case because he's looking out of the box, that I feel like I want to draw additional cards. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to start in the order that the cards were turned over. So I'm going to start first with the man card. So I'm shuffling. And I'll shuffle 3 times for each of these. Alright, the cards have been shuffled and extracted for each of the cards. I'm going to go in the order that I pulled them. So starting with the man card, what is he potentially facing? He is facing, this is the marketplace card. So the marketplace is a card that for me talks about work, and that is the reason for the cobalt blue border. These are the work-oriented cards in the deck. So the marketplace can turn up when one is considering business, right? So this card could be about, in the literal sense, this is about putting yourself out in the market. So it could be like if there is an idea here around increase, like increasing resources, then it could be, putting yourself out into the job market, right? This card can be about retail because in the image I have stores, retail stores and shops in the image. So this could be about, seeking work in the retail industry, or that has something to do with retail industries in terms of money, financial transactions, abundance, because this card can also be about shopping, right? So this could be shopping in the literal sense, right? And then here we have, if we're talking about prices going up, it would be like it's most experienced when people go shopping, right? So there is that. It could also be that a person is shopping around, quote unquote. That's metaphorical. And that's really about looking at your choices, your options, looking at selections, right? It could be, you know, metaphorically getting us to look at what are we buying into. You know, but for me, sometimes the idea of shopping and this card maybe even about, it's coming to me in the moment, is about consumerism, right? You know, the idea is like, you know, when we buy something, we are saying on some level that this is what we value in life, right? But for the man, this could be about taking a look at options, shopping around, in an effort to maybe increase the idea of abundance here, right? Again, being challenged with that. But it could also be about putting yourself out in the marketplace, right? So that could be a nod for, you know, maybe either looking for a job or more, you know, even additional work, right? Now, the other thing that caught my eye is that the home and family card knights the marketplace. So this could be somebody is contemplating selling their home. This would be about putting your house on the market, right? And then that would make sense with the money cards being in the reading as well, right? Or if somebody is a first-time home buyer, that would be child with the money cards. So, and that would be like, you know, putting your house on the market and looking at the value. You know, are you going to get the asking price above it? You know, are people going to be playing hardball and lowballing? You know, that kind of thing. Do you need to make some changes and improvements, money and home and family, in order to get the most out of the transaction? Right, so that's what I'm seeing with the marketplace card, and that would end the story here. Usually for me, I look for stop cards, but this card, even though it's not a stop card, it wouldn't be a card that would make me feel like I need to evolve this area some more. So I'm going to now move up to Get Together, and here we have another cause and effect card, and here we have falseness. So here is that I would offer, falseness is a card that represents something being wrong, something being off, a mistake of some kind, right? So the way it works is that this card represents masking something, concealing something, hiding something. Yeah, because the woman is hiding her face behind the mask, right? So this could be pretense, insincerity, dishonesty even. And the way it works is that what's behind the woman would be what's being hidden or concealed here. What's in front by the mask side is what is going to be affected. So there's something off, something wrong, some kind of mistake that's going to affect the public. Some kind of pretense, insincerity, right? But it's going to have an effect on the public. And that could be, again, some of the things that I talked about previously, right? So now I could draw another card for that. But now let me come over here to sadness. And here we have a stop card here, so I don't need to evolve the story here anymore. So I drew the mirror card. So for me, the mirror card, first and foremost, can be about, was thinking here is that this card is about image and identity, right? Because we look at ourselves in mirrors, right? So that was the first thing. But mirror, depending on the context, in a business sense or working sense, this card can be about one's personal brand, right? And again, personal brand ties to image and identity things. Now, this card can also be about reflection, because we are looking at a reflection when we look at ourselves in the mirror, right? So this could be about, you know, disappointment, upset, sadness pertaining to home and family, what's it going to affect or what's it going to lead to. It could lead to some greater sense of self-reflection, or it's going to be something that's going to affect our sense of self, our image, identity, how we see ourselves, right? The image that we're putting out to the public, yeah? So that's what I'm seeing here. Again, with this card being a stop card, the story stops here. So I will draw one more final card for the falseness side. So as I was shuffling for the falseness card, I had a thought about this segment right here. So with the sadness card and the mirror card, this could be, you know, if it's about home and family or other people, this could be being disappointed or upset with someone's image. And it makes me feel like the idea of like my image of you has been shattered, if you've ever heard that expression, right? So it could be somebody is going to maybe do something, maybe intentional or not, with falseness, right? Or make a mistake of some kind, or we get to see behind the mask, behind the pretense, right? And it shatters that image that we've been holding regarding that person. That's what I want to say. That thought came to me as I was shuffling. Okay, and so now this is going to be the final card because I'm running out of table space here. So regardless of the type of card, I'm going to wrap things up with this card. And so with that in mind, okay, I can go ahead and wrap it up here. And so here we have the tree card. So the tree card can mean two things. Number one, it could represent well-being, right? This is a card for me that can talk about healing. And so in that regard, it can be about either literal healing, healing of the body, or spiritual healing. But it could also be about our roots. This is a nice extension of the home and family card. This would be about immediate family, and then the tree card would be about extended family. Right? So now the other thing that this card could be about, it could be about something that is rooted in something, right? Because of the roots, right? And again, that was a pun for me when I was creating the card about our family trees, right? And the idea of like our ancestry, our roots, right? Where do we come from, right? But there may be something involving well-being that maybe was presented, wasn't really entirely presented to the public a certain way. The other thing about the tree card can be about patience, you know, so seeds being planted that are taking a long time to grow. And then I noticed that tree knights to law. So there may be something involving law regarding health and well-being. The first thing I always think of in that regard would be healthcare, right? So there may be something about healthcare and the public. You know, but something about well-being that was maybe presented a certain way. Turns out that's not the case, and it's going to affect the public. Right, so this could be individual people. We have the woman and man card. Let's not forget about them. But also groups and communities out in the public sphere. It's making me think of like other demographics. Yeah, that's the word that comes to me. Ooh, so that was a lot. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. So this was part one. And so in this video, I did a lot of my process that I call evolving the story. So in the follow-up video, I'm going to remove all the additional cards. We're going to bring it right back to the original 9. And we're going to be doing a line of 5 extraction. Again, that is for a viewer near and dear to my heart, Ismail. So Ismail, if you checked out this video, part 2, the follow-up will be coming later in the week. And so I hope that you, since you asked for the request, you made the request, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you're not Ismail and you hung out with me and made it through to the end, to this point in the video, I want to first thank you for the gift of your time, and I hope that you found it informative as well. So this is James Himm Mitchell signing out, and I will see you in the follow-up. Until then, be well, tree, and take care.